Number 10. Russell Brand. Even before the controversy surrounding Russell Brand came up this year, this dude was unwelcome at royal events, award shows, birthday parties, anything and everything public. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm sorry to be the one to inform you, Russell Brand is secretly a terrible person. The man known best as a comedian, a bringer of joy, has secretly been manipulative, aggressive, and at times violent with his ex-partners. Following the news that a documentary about his life and career was set to release on BBC Channel 4, several complaints were filed by exes alleging that Russell had mistreated them during their time together. The allegations were actually reinforced by Russell's ex-fiancée, Katy Perry. They dated for over a year and a half, and in that time, she came to learn that Russell was short-tempered, opinionated, and stubborn, qualities that make a man a terrible person. Russell's career was canceled, and he's currently awaiting a trial. Number 9. The Oprah Maui Scandal. Oprah has been claiming to be many things since the Maui backlash has begun: a good boss, a charitable woman, and an advocate for the island of Maui. By starting this fund and donating her spare millions, she's made her mark in the public as a woman who cares so much that she's asking you to give her your money as well. Isn't that nice? Well, not really. The money that she donated turned out to be taxed, so she didn't actually donate anything, and of course, the main issue that people have with Oprah is that she's a billionaire asking average, everyday people for money. As I've mentioned in previous videos, Oprah would not care about Maui or its people if she didn't have a vested stake on the island. Oprah has had property in Maui for quite some time, being almost a second home to her. When the fire started raging, she started fundraising. Think about all of the things that have happened in the past few years. We all forgot about Australia being on fire in 2020. Western Canada was on fire earlier this year. Some parts of Florida have been underwater and are still right now. Yet, Oprah has decided to dedicate her time and money to helping out the area where she has a vacation home. Number 8. Colleen Ballinger. Former YouTuber Colleen was accused by several of her young fans as being a creepy creepo who wanted to be their friend. Colleen is best known for her character Miranda Sings on YouTube, who became so popular that she received her own Netflix series. If you want to watch it, I'm sure you will need a VPN or something. It's probably banned in every country. She was basically messaging her fans to deliver so-called advice when she was really trying to just manipulate them into being her little minions. And not the little yellow guys with the glasses, that'd be different. There was a massive amount of proof in the pudding. Fans had screenshots of conversations, with one fan claiming that she actually sent him lingerie as a joke. Oh man, lace underwear, hilarious. Following instant backlash from the world, Colleen decided to post an apology online, which she did, while playing a ukulele. This woman is shown to be weird to everyone, and she thought it was appropriate to go online and sing about it. In response to the cringiest apology of all time, her fans resurfaced a video that really should have gotten her canceled when it first came out. A few years ago, she decided that it would be an awesome idea during one of her live shows to sing and dance to Beyonce's Single Ladies while in blackface. Yeah, it is the roughest clip of Colleen. She's just barefoot on stage, wildly flailing and waving her arms, and nobody at that show is like, that's weird. Yeah, the world's great. Number 7, Jada Pinkett Smith. Cheating rumors and dating scandals have followed Jada and Will Smith throughout their entire relationship. Since day one, people have been convinced that they're in an open relationship or they were cheating on each other on and off. Well, it turns out that some of those rumors were actually true. Ahead of the release of her new book, Worthy, Jada sat down with People magazine to share some inside information. The most revealing was that herself and Will Smith have actually been separated for like 7 years. Now, of course, that's not all. Jada's actually slowly ruining this man's life and mental health. When Jada revealed the truth about her separation from Will, she claimed that by the time they reached 2016, they had become exhausted with trying to make things work. The news of their separation was like a mild shock at best, because Super Sleuth fans claim to have proof Will and Jada have been separated forever, and the proof is in the interviews. The first clip to be submitted as evidence was Will and Jada's Red Table Talk interaction, where she admitted to the entanglement with August Alsina, simultaneously admitting to a brief separation. In the conversation, she literally says that herself and Will had basically broken up, but instead of just telling us right then and there, she decided to hold on to that information for a better time. A lot of Jada fans have commented on the resurfaced clips saying that Will looks drained, like he's clearly dealing with a ton mentally speaking. Now, I could go on and on about how terrible Jada is, but I've done lots of videos about that in the past, so go and check those out. Number 6, Justin Timberlake. One of the most discussed sections of The Woman in Me, a memoir by Britney Spears, is of course the revelation of what really happened while Britney and her Mickey Mouse Club co-star Justin Timberlake were together. After meeting JT in the clubhouse, the two sparked a romantic connection. Their connection was strong, but unfortunately Britney had to make a difficult decision in the year 2000, after she found out she was pregnant. At first, Britney was actually pretty excited about the whole thing. In her book she revealed that she had planned on starting a family with Justin at some point, just that this was going to be a little bit earlier than she expected. Well, turns out Justin was not so excited and told her that they were both too young to be starting a family, continuing to remind her that their careers would also need to be put on pause. The revelation may be part of the reason that Justin has reportedly been so nervous leading up to the book's release, and might be why he's turned his Instagram comments off. Britney revealed that if the decision had solely been left to her, that she would have gone through with the pregnancy, but she decided to go the opposite route instead. She claims to have only done it because Justin so clearly didn't want to be the dad. In the book, she said that looking back, it is one of the most agonizing things she has ever experienced in her life. Number 5, Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors is currently the man behind the purple cape of Kang the Conqueror in the MCU. Kang has been written as a very important figure in Marvel. In Ant-Man Quantumania, he was the main antagonist, only he was just acting as a variant of the real antagonist, which was an army of Kangs from across the multiverse. I know, I'm gonna get geeky for a second. Including He Who Remains, a Kang variant from Loki, who once again acted as a major part of the Loki series. Unfortunately for Majors, an ex has come forward and alleged that Jonathan was physically violent towards her while they were together. Since March of this year, Majors and his team have been adamant that the situation is blown out of proportions and that there's nothing to be upset about. In fact, in June, Majors filed his own cross-complaint accusing the accuser. Prosecutors refuted these claims and told him that they had no plans to prosecute Grace Jabari, the woman who accused him. Majors has been dropped from his agency, and so far his role on TV and film is up in the air. Spoiler alert for Loki Season 2. The series ended with Kang not really being He Who Remains anymore, and it's unclear of what's gonna actually happen. Now, there have been rumors that his role in the MCU as the big bad will be replaced by Doctor Doom, so we'll see. Sorry if you don't like nerdy stuff, that's just my little tangent. Number 4, Lizzo. Lizzo may have been a public advocate for body positivity, but as part of a lawsuit being brought against her, it seems like all the positivity might have just been an act that she was putting on to make herself more universally loved. Now, I am not a small man. In fact, I have what many people consider to be a dad bod, and hey, I'm cool with that, so I'm not dismissing the notion that we should love and respect ourselves, but she made it a massive part of her personality on camera, and when it sounds like the only body she actually cared about was her own. According to her dancers, Lizzo regularly shamed her team and made them feel like they were too large or gaining weight, with several dancers confirming these claims. One of the dancers, Crystal Davies, who is part of the lawsuit, was actually fired for secretly recording a meeting between herself and Lizzo. The meeting was about the dancer's performance on stage recently, and Lizzo apparently disliking the weight that she had been gaining, claiming that Crystal just wasn't committing to her role. She was also bringing her dancers to strange places and making them do things against their will. Lizzo was at a club in Amsterdam's red light district when she coerced, aka forced, one of her dancers to touch a woman's bare chest, not something that she wanted to do. She also made them eat bananas from some no-no zones that, again, not their idea of fun. Currently, it's still up in the air as to what the outcome will be in this trial, and so far Lizzo is maintaining that she has done nothing wrong and will prove her innocence any day. Number 3, Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner. Joe and Sophie got together back in 2016 after they had been set up by mutual friends, something that they had apparently been trying to do for quite some time. They got together and instantly fell in love, getting married just over a year after getting together. Sophie admitted to Rolling Stones in 2019 that she was hesitant at first because Joe was a big musician, she was a big TV and film star, meaning that most of the time they would be on opposite ends of the world. Eventually, she warmed up and got together with Joe officially. The split came out of nowhere. For the most part, their relationship has seemed to be stable on the outside. They were never a part of cheating scandals, which is surprising considering Joe's lack of discretion. There were never any strange rumors, photos, they were just like a happy couple. As of September 1st, Joe Jonas filed for a divorce from Sophie, with the only current information being that Joe has claimed the relationship is irretrievably broken. Something pretty serious must have gone down in a very short amount of time, because only hours before this announcement, Joe posted a photo of himself on Instagram with his ring on full display. Now, despite the minimal amount of tea spilt so far, we are in for one super messy and public divorce. Things have settled down a bit in the past few weeks, but Sophie was actually just spotted getting cozy with another dude very recently, so you can imagine who's taking things harder at this point. Number 2, Danny Matheson. That 70s Show was a popular sitcom that helped launch several careers, including Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher. Danny was of course also on that show, but it turns out the allegations that date back to 2004 surrounding Danny were reported in 2004. Danny was still on the show when an investigation took place. 4 women reported that he had mistreated them physically, prompting local law enforcement to halt production and bring Danny in for questioning. The investigation brought little to no actual evidence to the table, so Danny was let go and the entire thing was forgotten about. But that means that Ashton and Mila literally watched this man go in for questioning and still called him a role model in their character witness letters. It makes no sense. Their jobs were literally stopped while this man was under investigation, and when the charges came up again 15 years later, they were still on his side. Thankfully, in 2023, it's a lot easier to confirm allegations of this nature, and he was recently sentenced to 3 years in prison. So, justice served. Number 1, Jonah Hill. Jonah was once the funniest man in town, shifting his efforts to the world of drama and creating a really nice career where he could just do anything he wanted, really. Unfortunately for fans of Jonah Hill, some information came out earlier this year that called his character into question. Reminder, this isn't my opinion, these are things that just happen in the world and are public knowledge, okay? An ex-girlfriend of Jonah's posted screenshots from past conversations, and the conversations ranged from Jonah just asking her to tone down the photo she was posting, to asking her not to do her job. For those of you who don't know, his ex Sarah works as a surfing instructor, and Jonah was asking her to not surf with men while working, and that she wear more than a bikini while she did so. When Sarah released these screenshots, she underlined them, calling Jonah a narcissistic misogynist, but also said she didn't really want anything bad to happen to him, so Since the messages have been released, there has been a massive online debate as to where Jonah stands in the eyes of the public. Some people feel that canceling him entirely is just a bit too much, and compared to some of the other scandals in Hollywood, especially that I just covered, Jonah Hill is relatively chill. Others want his name wiped from the face of the planet and never to be heard from again, so I don't know, give and take.
Starting off this countdown in no particular order, we have Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson's dad, Charles Harrelson, was an American hitman and organized crime figure. Yes, you heard me correctly. Beloved actor Woody Harrelson had a father who was a cold-blooded killer. He was just 7 at the time when his father first went to prison. It's said that he was responsible for the deaths of at least 20 people. In 1979, that is when Charles committed his biggest kill of all time. He took out a federal judge by the name of Judge John H. Wood Jr. He was the first federal judge to be killed in the 20th century. He was paid $250,000 to kill off this judge. It was because a drug dealer was about to be sentenced by this judge, who was known as Maximum John, because he always gave out really harsh punishments to drug dealers. So he got Charles to knock him off for him, but this landed him behind bars and in solitary confinement. He was there until he was 69 when he died from a heart attack. Obviously, Woody does not want to be defined by his father's actions. In our 9th spot, we have Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin is one of the few actors who actually grew up in a cult. He was born into the commune of Children of God, but when he was 4 years old, his parents managed to escape the cult and move. That's actually why they changed their last name to Phoenix, as it symbolizes rebirth, since they were able to leave this cult and start a new life. Unfortunately, he also lost his brother at a young age. In 1993, his brother River Phoenix died from an overdose. Joaquin witnessed this happen, and he was the one that called 911. In our 8th spot today, we have Phil Lewis. Phil Lewis is best known for his role of Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and I freaking love that show. Like, it was honestly my childhood. Well, before his Disney Channel days, he actually killed someone. In December of 1991, Lewis fatally hit a 21-year-old woman. She passed away from her injuries from the hit. It was found that Lewis was driving while intoxicated. His blood alcohol levels were 3 times times the legal limit of intoxication. As a result, he was convicted of a DUI as well as manslaughter. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, 2 years probation, and 350 hours of community service. But he managed to only serve 1 year in prison. I guess Disney was able to overlook his past when he auditioned for Mosby on the show. In our 7th spot today, we have Tim Allen. Now, if you look at Tim Allen, you think, aw, he's such a family man. I love Home Improvement and Toy Story. He's a great actor. Wow. Tim Allen actually had quite a dark past before he got into acting. In 1978, Allen was arrested for attempting to traffic more than 650 grams of coke. He was arrested in Kalamazoo Battle Creek International Airport. Now, he actually would have served a lifetime in prison, but he avoided this by giving police information about other dealers. As a result, his sentence was reduced to 3 to 7 years. He ended up serving 2 years and 4 months in prison and then was granted parole in 1981. I guess that's why they say don't judge a book by its cover, because he looks like a wholesome dad, not a drug trafficker. In our 6th spot, we have Jack Nicholson. In 1974, Time magazine discovered that Jack's sister, June, was actually his mother, not his sister. How wild is that? So June was only 17 when she became pregnant with Jack, and she wasn't married, so her parents agreed to raise the child as their own, with Jane and Lorraine acting like his older sisters. So his parents were actually his grandparents, and his sister Lorraine was his aunt. In regards to his dad, we don't know for sure who is his dad, but some say it was likely June's manager. Other sources claim June really just doesn't know who the father was. By the time Jack found this all out, his mom, June, and his grandma had already passed away. Imagine how that would have changed his life. Like, he was raised on a lie. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Sean Penn. A number of women have come forward saying that Sean Penn has been aggressive towards them. In fact, he has mistreated a number of his partners, including Madonna. They were married from 1985 to 1989. While in December of 1988, Penn allegedly tied Madonna to a chair and held her hostage for 9 hours and apparently hit her multiple times. When he untied her to let her use the bathroom, she fled to the police station. One officer said, and I quote, "Madonna staggered into the station. She was distraught, crying, with makeup smeared all over her face. I hardly recognized her. She had obviously been struck." Sean was charged with inflicting corporal injury and traumatic conditions on Madonna, as well as battery. But Madonna withdrew her complaint a week later and has rarely commented on it since, which is quite odd. Why would she say that he harmed her and then retract the statement? So who knows what really happened. Moving on to number 4, we have Leighton Meester. Now, I personally did not know this, but Blair Waldorf, aka Leighton Meester, wasn't always the queen bee of Manhattan. In fact, she was born in prison. Basically, her mom was serving a sentence after smuggling a lot of marijuana out of Jamaica with the help of Leighton's dad and Aunt Judy. All of them ended up behind bars. In fact, her aunt managed to escape prison and became America's first woman on the US Marshals 15 Most Wanted list. How insane is that? In the end, Leighton's grandmother raised her while her mom served 16 months in prison. Thank gosh she didn't follow in her family's footsteps. In our 3rd spot, we have Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken was involved in a death that is just shrouded in mystery. On November 29th, 1981, 43-year-old actress Natalie Wood was found dead, floating face down in the Pacific Ocean. She was on a yacht with her husband Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken when this happened. The thing is, no one really knows what happened to her. Some say she slipped off the deck and fell into the water, while others are convinced that her husband or Christopher Walken had something to do with it, or that they know what happened. One theory is that Natalie and Christopher were having an affair, Wagner found out about it, got mad, and pushed her off the yacht. Now, Wagner seems to be the prime suspect, but many people think that Walken knows exactly what happened. I mean, he barely even talks about the case, and on the rare occasion that he did, he would call it an accident, and also he was absent from the documentary about her. All I'm gonna say is someone knows something. I'm getting the vibe that Walken knows what happened and maybe he just feels guilty about it. In our 2nd spot, we have Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron actually had a very traumatic upbringing. Her dad struggled with alcohol addiction and would constantly threaten Charlize and her mom, Gerda. He would never physically hurt her, but he would hurt Gerda. One night in June of 1991, he got angry and fired shots at both of them. During that altercation, Gerda ran and grabbed her own handgun that she had kept hidden and shot him back. Her shots killed him while Charlize watched it all unravel. In the end, it was declared self-defense and Gerda never faced any charges. But think how traumatizing that must have been for her to see her mother shoot and kill her dad as a teenager. And in our number 1 spot today we have Ashton Kutcher. Now I never knew this and I was incredibly shocked when I found out about it. But on February 21st of 2001, Ashton Kutcher went over to his then girlfriend's house, Ashley Elrin. The two had planned on going to a post-Grammy party, but when he knocked on the door, there was no answer. That's because Ashley was dead on the floor of her home. She had been stabbed 47 times by a man named the Hollywood Ripper. He was responsible for the death of up to 10 women. As a result, Ashton Kutcher lost his girlfriend very suddenly and in a very traumatic way. He was also scared that he was going to be a suspect in the murder investigation since his fingerprints were on her door, but he never was, but he did have to testify in court.
Starting off this countdown in no particular order, we've got Jon Hamm. Jon Hamm is most notably famous for his role in the hit television series Mad Men as a cutthroat advertising executive. What he may not want you to know about him, however, were his less than savory college days that landed him in some serious trouble. In 1990, Jon was arrested for his alleged role in a fraternity hazing that turned horribly violent. His fraternity house was even dissolved after Hamm and his friends harmed a pledge so violently that he was in the hospital, even going as far as to light him on fire. Jon was charged with a misdemeanor offense, and when he was asked about it in 2018, his response wasn't the best. Quote, "I was essentially acquitted. I wasn't convicted of anything. I was caught up in a big situation, a stupid kid in a stupid situation, and it was a bummer. I moved on from it." Okay, now we're moving on, I guess. And at number 9 is Richard Pryor, the iconic comedian who is often cited as direct inspiration for other comedy legends like Eddie Murphy and Dave Chappelle. Pryor changed the game. But what you may not know is that there was an extremely dark past behind the All Smiles comic. Richard grew up in an extremely unstable childhood, raised by a substance-using mother in a brothel in Illinois. Richard saw things that no child should ever have to see, and to cope with such a horrifying childhood, he also turned to substance use to self-medicate. Richard was married 7 times to 5 different women who had trouble with the comic's insatiable personal life. He even almost passed away at his own hand when he doused himself in rum and lit himself on fire while using substances. Pryor's friend even stated in an interview, quote, "He has about 13 personalities, and while you could deal with 9 of them, the other 4 are a nightmare." At number 8 is Billy Tipton. Billy Tipton, if you haven't heard of him, was a revered jazz musician who rose to fame in the 1940s and 1950s. He lived his life in relative normalcy outside of his celebrity status. Although he was never married, he did have 5 serious girlfriends, all of whom referred to themselves as Miss Tipton. Eventually, he settled down with a woman named Kelly, and they adopted 3 sons together. It wasn't until his death from a stomach ulcer in 1989 that, as he was being rushed to the hospital, his giant secret was uncovered. Billy Tipton was born a woman and had concealed his sex throughout his entire life, even from his relationships. The revelation came as, quote, "a shock to nearly everyone, including the women who had considered themselves his wives, as well as his sons and the musicians who traveled with him." To explain away any intimacy that would have happened between his partners, Billy reportedly said that he was in a serious car accident that mutilated his body, leaving him unable to perform. At the time this was revealed, it sent shockwaves through the music scene where trans performers were basically completely unheard of. And at number 7 is Prince. The iconic pop singer is considered one of the greatest musicians to have ever lived, but he also had a secret that was only uncovered upon his tragic and sudden death in 2016. After he passed, many stories started to come to light as both bank statements became public and from various sources. These bank statements revealed that Prince had been secretly donating insane sums of money to various charities throughout his life, each with the condition that the donation be private and that the donor be kept a secret. A few organizations that he did support in the days before his death were the Harlem Children's Zone and Uptown Dance Academy, New York. He even donated $12,000 to the Louisville Free Public Library in order to keep it from closing, all under the condition that they keep his name unlisted from donor records. He reportedly gave thousands away at a time, particularly to charities related to children, as his own child tragically passed away after only 6 days of life. He also focused on environmental issues, and uniquely, unlike a lot of celebrities who choose to invest so they get a financial return, Prince just donated to foundations that support environmental causes and a transition to solar power. Number 6, Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page is the virtuoso guitarist and founder of Led Zeppelin. Jimmy is largely known as one of the greatest guitarists in the history of rock music. I mean, he set the standard for the many who have imitated his electric style. Yet, what he may not want you to know about him is his predatory relationship with a young girl who was only 14 at the time. While he toured with Led Zeppelin, Jimmy dated Lori Maddox, although they kept their relationship extremely private and basically hidden because it was, illegal and creepy. Even in the loose 70s, this relationship could have put Paige in jail. They dated for a little while, and who knows what they did behind the scenes, but Jimmy eventually dumped her for BB Bell, who was of age at the time, thank God. Either way, not a fan of this one. In at number 5 is Matthew Broderick. Matthew Broderick is known largely for his titular role as Ferris Bueller in the John Hughes coming-of-age film Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He was also in The Producers and a bunch of other A-list movies. What you may not know about him, however, is that he was directly involved and in fact caused the death of numerous people. He and Jennifer Grey, the star of Dirty Dancing, were on a romantic vacation in Ireland when Matthew head-on hit the car of a 28-year-old woman and her mother. Both women were pronounced dead at the hospital. The road was straight and easy to navigate. The issue was that they were in Ireland, and he, out of habit, drove on the wrong side of the road, which led to the crash. Following the accident, Broderick was convicted of careless driving but was only fined $175, which to this day the family of the victims called a quote travesty of justice. At number 4 is Jackie Chan. While Jackie Chan appeared as a comedic kung fu fighting man on the screen, his personal life is absolutely insane and surprisingly not well known. In fact, Jackie himself didn't know until well into his career just how many secrets were being kept in his family. He learned in 2003 that he had 2 secret brothers living in China and that his father was a nationalist spy on secret missions to bust substance crime in mainland China. In fact, that's where he met Jackie's mother. In what seems like a moment straight out of a noir crime boss movie, Jackie's father met his mother, Lily Chan, because he was sent to bust her as an infamous dealer and legendary gambler in Shanghai. So, his mother was one of the lords of the Chinese underbelly, and his father was sent to arrest her. The two fled to Australia together, where they lived until their death. Jackie's father also revealed that the actor's real family name isn't Chan at all, but rather Fang. How's that for a family reunion? In at number 3 is Rose McGowan. Rose was one of the founding spokespersons in the Me Too movement, joining dozens of women who brought Harvey Weinstein to justice. She is best known for her 90s movies like Jawbreaker, Scream, and Encino Man. But what you may not know about her is her rather horrifying upbringing. She was born in Florence, Italy, where her parents lived in a commune called the Children of God. Basically, she was born into a cult that had mass allegations of horrifying crimes against humanity. I can't really say what they are because of YouTube restrictions, but if you're curious, I suggest you look into it with a serious content warning in mind. The cult in question lured people in with promises of all kinds of physical intimacy and activities with extremely young women set to perform such acts on the men in the cult. Luckily for Rose, she was largely protected from the more heinous side of the cult, and she and her family fled when she was 14 years old, where quote, "We hid in an old stone house and had to boil pots of water to take baths. The cult sent people to find us. I remember a man trying to break in with a hammer." Number 2 on the list, Rihanna. While the celebrity singer is in the news lately for her exciting pregnancy with A$AP Rocky, what you may not know about her is her rather insane early life, and the secrets that they kept even from her until they were finally brought to light. Old family photos were unearthed that reveal a secret side of the family that Rihanna herself rarely ever talks about: her father's other kids. Rihanna has 3 older siblings through her father by 3 different women, as he admitted to being quite the womanizer in his heyday. Her and her father have an extremely complicated relationship, as he has dealt with substance use issues for most of his life. And now to find out that she had 3 other siblings she knew nothing about, it's a wonder the two have stuck together through so much. And in at number 1 is Mark Wahlberg. The actor and singer needs no introduction, but he may need a little disclaimer beside his name for the rather horrifying incident he caused in the 80s. When he was 16 years old, Mark had an extremely harsh life, and he ended up brutally harming an elderly Vietnamese man in a racially motivated attack. He shouted slurs at him while physically harming him so badly that Mark was charged with attempted murder. While he was sentenced to 2 years in prison, for some reason he only served 45 days. In a beautiful show of faith, his victim, whose name is Johnny Trin, stated that he forgives Mark. Quote, "Everyone deserves another chance. He was young and reckless, but I forgive him now. He paid for his crime when he went to prison." Mark got a pardon from the court, basically exonerating him from his crime, an action that he later stated he regrets. Quote, "I didn't need that. I spent 28 years righting the wrong. I was relieved to find out that the injuries to his eye had occurred in the early 70s and not from the incident that happened that night, but I was able to meet with him and his wife and his daughter and apologize for these horrific acts. Some good can come out of it."
Starting off this countdown, we have Meg Ryan, Dennis Quaid, and Russell Crowe. Meg Ryan was married to Dennis Quaid for 9 years until she decided to cheat on him with Russell Crowe. This happened while filming the movie Proof of Life with Russell in Ecuador. Somehow, news got out about Ryan and Crowe, and Quaid soon filed for divorce. But Ryan turned it around, saying that the divorce was all Quaid's fault, and that he had also been unfaithful during their marriage. In the end, Ryan lost Crowe and Quaid, and the movie tanked in the box office. So maybe that's karma. Moving on to number 9, we have Aaron Carter, Hilary Duff, and Lindsay Lohan. Back in the early 2000s, Aaron Carter was quite the heartthrob and ladies' man, catching the hearts of fans and celebrities all around the world. Well, Aaron met Hilary when he guest starred in the Lizzie McGuire Christmas special. If you guys remember that, smash that like button, because I do. Then on his 13th birthday, the pair officially began dating. They were together for almost 2 years when he cheated on her with Lindsay Lohan. In fact, he was two-timing her, so he was dating Lindsay and Hilary at the same time. Now this is what Aaron had to say. I started dating Hilary on my 13th birthday. I was dating her for like a year and a half, and then I just got a little bored. So I went and I started getting to know Lindsay, dating Lindsay. Then I didn't want to do that anymore, so I got back with Hilary. And then I ended up cheating on Hilary with her best friend. That's nothing to smile about, she wasn't even that good looking either. End of quote. I didn't just add that in, he also said that. So he literally got bored and was like, sure, let's fool around with other women. Jeez, Aaron. In our 8th spot today, we have Laura Dern, Billy Bob Thornton, and Angelina Jolie. Honestly, people might hate me for saying this, but Billy Bob Thornton and Angelina Jolie were a hot couple. I'm sorry. Well, Laura Dern and Billy Bob started dating in 1997 while on the set of Ellen. The couple dated for 3 years and even were engaged. But in 1999, he called it quits, and a year later, he married Angelina Jolie. That one's gotta hurt. According to Dern, she said, and I quote, "I left our home to work on a movie, and while I was away, my boyfriend got married, and I've never heard from him again." That is very harsh. Moving on to number 7, we have Alex Rodriguez, Kate Hudson, and Cameron Diaz. Now this dude has dated all the stars, I swear, like Madonna, J-Lo, come on now. Anyways, Kate Hudson and A-Rod dated for 7 months before calling it quits in December of 2009. Just a few months later, Cameron Diaz was seen leaving his house with overnight bags, you guys know what that means. And according to sources, Hudson was not happy with this at all. Maybe this was payback for Hudson hooking up with Cameron's ex-boyfriend, Justin Timberlake, shortly after they broke up. Who knows? But in 2012, it seems like they got over this drama because they were quite chummy with each other at the Academy Awards. In 2013, Diaz referred to Hudson as one of her good friends. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Sophia Bush, Chad Michael Murray, and Paris Hilton. Now, Chad Michael Murray is one fine man, okay? Let me just say that. And I did not know that he got together with Paris Hilton. Okay, I don't know, I just can't picture them together, you know? But I guess opposites attract. One Tree Hill stars Sophia and Chad ended up having chemistry on and off screen. In December of 2005, they actually got married, but the marriage was very short-lived. 5 months later, they separated. And apparently, Chad was spotted with Paris Hilton. Now, this is where it gets messy. So at the time the two allegedly got together, Paris was dating Nick Carter. Nick's younger brother, Aaron Carter, eventually spilled the tea, saying that Paris cheated on his brother with Chad Michael Murray. So they both cheated on their partners. A year later, Sophia and Chad filed for divorce. In our 4th spot, we have Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson, and Rupert Sanders. Now, I don't know if you remember when this drama came out, but I do. And that's because I was a hardcore Twilight fan, and I shipped Kristen and Robert to the moon and back. When I heard she cheated on him, I was so mad at her. Like, she doesn't even know who I was, but I was mad. Anyways, while filming Snow White and the Huntsman, Kristen got with the director Rupert Sanders, and the two were caught kissing in public. Kristen was dating Robert at the time, and Rupert was married to Liberty Ross. Rob and Kristen separated for a bit, then got back together again, only to break up again in 2013, whereas Rupert's wife filed for divorce in 2013. In our 3rd spot today, we have David Spade, Laura Flynn Boyle, and Jack Nicholson. This is a very odd trio, but apparently Jack Nicholson stole David Spade's girlfriend, Laura Flynn Boyle, from him in 1999. According to him, that's what happened. They had been dating for a year when Jack literally asked her out in front of David. Now, David got all defensive, being like, I know you're gonna go out with him anyway. And she was like, no way, he's worse than Trump. Like, no lie, that's what she said. But in the end, the two were spotted together. Actually, they got in a car crash together, and apparently Boyle climbed out of the sunroof and yelled, I have a boyfriend, I can't be here. But she was caught, like literally red-handed. In our third spot today, we have Bella Thorne, her brother, and another Bella. Bella Thorne's brother, Remy Thorne, was dating a girl named Bella Pendergast for 3 years. The pair broke up around 2015. Bella Thorne was dating Greg Sulkin, and when she broke up, she quickly came out as bisexual on her Twitter. A little while later, she was spotted with her brother's ex being a little too close. They shared a number of photos holding hands and kissing, and people were like, is she seriously dating her brother's ex? And yes, the answer is yes, she did. But shortly after, Bella Thorne decided to go after Greg Sulkin's friend, Tyler Posey. Then a month later, she dumped him and was with Charlie Puth. And don't get me started with the whole Tana Modson relationship, okay? That's a whole other mess on its own. And in our number one spot today, we have Olivia Wilde, Jason Sudeikis, and Harry Styles. Now, I must be living under a bus because I love Jason Sudeikis, but I did not know that he was engaged to Olivia Wilde. The pair first met in 2011 and began dating a few months later. In 2012, they got engaged, and in 2014 and 2016, they gave birth to 2 children. But in 2020, the pair announced that they had split. A few months later, Olivia was spotted with Harry Styles after attending a wedding together. They both met during the movie Don't Worry Darling, and some believe that Styles might be one of the reasons as to why the two split. One source said, and I quote, Olivia called off the engagement in early November, but only after she had already gotten close to Harry. The source continued on saying, whether Harry knows it or not, he was the reason for the split, and it blindsided Jason.
Number 10. Lindsay Lohan. She was once the youngest and one of the highest paid Hollywood superstars who became a millionaire before being an adult. Fans remember Lindsay from her iconic role in Mean Girls, and she was once so successful in the industry that her net worth had skyrocketed to approximately $40 million. But today her net worth is around $800,000. So what happened? Long story short, she was living way above her means. Her extravagant spending habits reduced her net worth from millions to thousands. She was also pretty careless, and in 2006, she was reported to have misplaced one of her expensive handbags with $1 million worth of jewelry still inside the bag. She also tried to keep up with a party lifestyle and struggled with addiction from a young age. She ended up spending large amounts every week on her habit alone, which unfortunately lost her a lot of film roles as her habits started affecting her work. Unpaid taxes were another reason why she got tangled in legal issues. In 2012, Lohan owed a massive amount of around $233,000 in due taxes, and there are other forms of debt too, like a $100,000 bill for a limousine company. Number 9. 50 Cent. Not long ago, 50 Cent was one of the richest rappers in the hip-hop industry, second only to the billionaire Jay-Z. At the height of his wealth, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson was said to be worth $155 million after tax, according to Forbes' annual hip-hop's wealthiest artist list. In fact, he's been on the same list every year since its inception in 2007. But a flailing music career, several legal battles, and poor business investments plummeted his net worth by a whopping $200 million, forcing him into bankruptcy with a debt of $32.5 million. So what happened? Well, it really came down to reckless spending and the various lawsuits that he faced throughout his career, but also several of his investments went badly and lost a lot of value during the 2008 recession, and he eventually filed for bankruptcy in 2015. According to TMZ, he struck a deal to pay $23 million in debts over 5 years. The filing came several days after a court ordered him to pay $7 million to Lastonia Levinson, whose sex tape he posted online without her consent. But despite being debt-free today, it seems like 50 is still in need of cash and regularly rants about being owed money on social media. So it's possible that he never fully recovered from his financial woes. Number 8. Kim Basinger. In the 80s and 90s, with her old-school Hollywood glam, Basinger was everywhere at one point, with starring roles in movies like Batman, Never Say Never Again, and LA Confidential. But a series of terrible financial decisions left the once wealthy A-list actress practically destitute. So how exactly did such a popular and wealthy celeb end up in in this dire state? Well, in 1989, Basinger paid $20 million for the town of Brazelton, Georgia. Yeah, she really bought a whole town. But it should come as little surprise that the purchase turned out to be a pretty terrible idea. Although she saw it as an investment and planned on turning the town into a tourist attraction by building a theme park, her dreams never materialized. Eventually, she sold it for a measly $1 million in 1993, making a staggering loss of $19 million. The bankruptcy was huge news at the time, and the actress also went through a messy divorce with her ex-husband Alec Baldwin, leaving her $3 million out of pocket, and she was sued by producer Carl Mazzaconi for backing out of an oral contract to star in a film. But despite being crazy broke, Basinger's finances have stayed out of the headlines for the last 15 years. Number 7. Nicolas Cage. The 58-year-old made his money by being one of Hollywood's highest earning actors and starring in iconic films like Con Air and Ghost Rider. In fact, he made $40 million in 2009 alone. But he eventually went into extreme debt after spending obscure amounts on his fortune on some insane stuff like a $67 million Tarbosaurus dinosaur skull for $300,000, or the 11th century Bavarian castle in Germany for $8 million. In 2006, he also bought a haunted house that belonged to serial killer Madame Delphine Laurie for $3.45 million. But these spending habits really caught up with him, and by the time he was 40, he was flat out broke. Cage tried to blame his money manager for sending him, quote, down a path of financial ruin. But it didn't help that in 2009, the IRS came knocking and claimed that the actor owed them $6.2 million in property taxes. But according to GQ, Cage officially finished paying off all his debts last year after signing on to star in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Although his net worth is leagues away from where it used to be, a comeback onto the big screen could change that. Number 6. Lena Headey. The actress played Cersei Lannister on Game of Thrones and had a very successful career even before landing a role in the series. She was in iconic films like Terminator, The Sarah Connor Chronicles, and 300. However, her bank account was reduced to just a few dollars after her divorce, as a legal battle really took everything she had. In fact, Lena had less than $5 in her bank account when the divorce happened, and she was surviving on credit cards to pay for herself and her 2-year-old son's living expenses. After 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, she was doing well again, and her net worth skyrocketed to $12 million. But it seems that the 48-year-old just cannot get out of financial trouble and is now being sued for $1.5 million by her former agency over alleged unpaid commission fees for the 2022 Marvel movie Thor: Love and Thunder. The agency alleges that Lena owes them $500,000 from her salary on the superhero flick, and at least $300,000 for the mystery drama called 9 Bullets, as well as $650,000 for the Showtime series Rita. So hopefully she can get herself out of the lawsuit, but it could land the actress right back into another dire financial situation. Number 5. Mike Tyson. The heavyweight champion made more than $700 million from his boxing fights alone, and was one of the highest paid athletes of all time. At his peak, his net worth was estimated to be more than $340 million. So what happened? Well, the New York Times described Tyson's bankruptcy as a lesson in ways to squander a fortune. So you can pretty much guess. The boxer spent his wealth on cars, jewelry, mansions, and also paid for some unusual services. In fact, in 1996, he paid a camp aide named Crocodile $300,000 to dress in fatigues and repeatedly shout guerrilla warfare at his news conferences. Tyson also paid $2 million for a golden bathtub and 3 Bengal tigers, which reportedly cost him $71,000 per tiger, and a further $70,000 on their maintenance and diet. He even had to hire an animal trainer that cost him $125,000. As a result, Tyson fell deeply into debt despite his immense earnings and was forced to file Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2003, reporting that he was a whopping $38.4 million in debt before returning to jail and checking into rehab. His net worth is now a fraction of what it used to be at around $10 million, but he's managed to reach financial stability again and seems to be doing well for himself. Number 4. Toni Braxton. The R&B singer has been making hits since the 90s and is mostly known for love songs and songs about heartache. But Toni Braxton is also very well known for her immense financial troubles over the years. After selling 15 million copies of her second album in 1996, fans were confused when she filed for bankruptcy, claiming that she had an astounding $50 million in debt. Everyone was confused because at the time of the filing, she had sold out world tours and millions of albums. Well, it turns out that she was suing her record label to terminate her recording contract because she was only receiving 33 cents per album, making it impossible for her to make money from album sales. Her career continued to soar after her messy legal battle, and she eventually became the headlining opening act of the Flamingo Hotel's casino, which seemed to be going great until it wasn't. The singer collapsed on stage during a show in 2007 and was hospitalized immediately after. She told ABC News in 2012, quote, "The Vegas show, I just renewed my contracts with all my vendors, and then a month later I got sick. I couldn't work and could not afford to pay them back." She was forced to file for bankruptcy a second time, but has since been able to turn her situation around by starring in her own reality TV show, Braxton Family Values. Number 3. Sydney Sweeney. At 24 years old, the Euphoria actress scored her first 2 Emmy nominations for roles in not one but 2 acclaimed HBO series. She has also started her own production company, 50/50 Films, and in the past year worked as an ambassador for many high fashion brands. But Sweeney recently revealed in a Hollywood Reporter interview that she still feels the financial pressure of paying her monthly bills, admitting that she was worried if she took a break from work, there would be no money and no support for any potential children that she would have. Quote, "If I wanted to take a 6-month break, I don't have income to cover that. I don't have someone supporting me. I don't have anyone I can turn to pay my bills or call for help." Although she's doing incredibly well for her age and her net worth is reportedly around $5 million, she claimed that actors don't get paid like they used to, and explained why she's experiencing financial strain. Among other reasons, Sweeney says that streaming sites don't provide residuals and claimed that paying her publicist every month costs more than her mortgage. She admitted that if I just acted, I wouldn't be able to afford my life in LA. And she also said that she takes several deals because she has to, so it seems that even working actors can wind up broke. Number 2. Amber Heard. The actress is known for her roles in several films, including the DC Comics Aquaman movie, but these days her name is synonymous with her now ex-husband Johnny Depp. Despite appearing in DC's Aquaman and making around $1 million, which is her highest paid role to date, Heard's total net worth is estimated to be minus $6 million. Why? Well, it's safe to say that she faced financial trouble after the highly publicized defamation trial brought against her by her ex-husband. But her situation has been looking much worse post-verdict. The actress was ordered to pay Depp $10 million in compensation and $5 million in punitive damages after a jury said that she defamed him. The judge later capped the damages at the Virginia maximum of $350,000, minus the $2 million that Depp was ordered to pay Heard, which means she owes him a total of $8.35 million. But the issue is that she has a reported net worth of only $3.5 million, making her officially broke. And if you thought things couldn't get any more downhill, she's unable to file for bankruptcy to wipe away the charges. This might have otherwise been an option for her, but the award is not dischargeable because punitive damages are never deductible or dischargeable. So there's no doubting the fact that she is broke. Number 1. Aaron Carter. You'd think earning millions of dollars before you turn 18 would set you up for an early retirement, but that never seems to be the case with child stars. Aaron Carter became a star in his own right very early on, reportedly amassing an estimated net worth of millions of dollars. He told Oprah, quote, "I made over $200 million in my career before I even turned 18 years old." As a result of his fame and fortune, his family lived very well on a massive compound with 12 houses on it, which Carter claims was worth over $10 million. But as a teen, he started getting into trouble with the law, which totally ruined his wholesome reputation and eventually affected his ability to make records. Quote, "Labels were like, 'We don't want to touch you. You're dead and gone. There's no more Aaron Carter.'" The star said he tried to rebuild his image when he realized the consequences of his actions, but it was too late. By the time he was 18, Aaron was already broke and had to declare bankruptcy in 2013 with $2 million of debt. At the time, he was left with only $917 in his checking account. He's managed to get back on track somewhat since then, and the now 34-year-old has a net worth of $400,000, but he would need a real career comeback to even attempt to regain his wealth. Number 10. Against discipline. Smith's unusual parenting style has raised eyebrows over the years, but he and his wife faced backlash in April 2013 when he revealed that they didn't believe in punishing their 2 younger children, Willow and Jaden. Will told Metro UK, quote, "We don't do punishment. The way that we deal with our kids is they are responsible for their lives. Our concept is, as young as possible, give them as much control over their lives as possible." And when talking about the concept of punishment, they believe it has too much of a negative quality. Basically, their whole parenting philosophy is that they don't believe in disciplining their kids. But criticism of their parenting style really exploded in 2014 when 13-year-old Willow was photographed in bed with a 20-year-old actor laying down right beside her. The whole thing even led to an investigation by Child Protective Services. In an interview with BBC Radio a couple of years later, after the initial drama, Will actually admitted that he and Jada may have gone a bit too far in their hands-off approach, and perhaps should have kept a tighter rein on Jaden and Willow. Regardless of whether you think the Smiths were wrong in their parenting approach or not, there's no denying that it led to two incredibly creative individuals. Number 9. Wanting multiple girlfriends. While the Smiths are no longer trying to hide how they feel about open relationships, many people have actually taken more offense to Will's misogynistic comments about women, specifically when he admitted in a 2021 GQ profile that his fantasy was to have, quote, a harem of girlfriends. He proceeded to name Halle Berry and ballet dancer Misty Copeland as two women that he would invite to be in it. Then, under the direction of an intimacy coach that he had at the time, he researched them and even made plans to contact them. Quote, the idea of traveling with 20 women that I loved and took care of and all that, it seemed like a really great idea. Obviously, he never acted on the impulse, eventually realizing that it wouldn't be fun at all in reality. He apparently came to the conclusion that it would be horrific, and it would in fact make him miserable. Can't really argue with that one, but it might have been a good idea to keep that fantasy hidden. Number 8. The entanglement. Musician August Alsina brought the Smiths' relationship into the spotlight in July of 2020, when he revealed that he was romantically involved with Jada, and Will knew about it the whole time. He had even given them his blessing. Although Jada initially denied the claims, she eventually confessed to being in an entanglement with August when she and her husband were separated. Quote, we decided we were going to separate for a period of time, and you go figure out how to make yourself happy, and I'll figure out how to make myself happy, Smith said during an appearance on the Red Table Talk in July of 2020. They both went on the talk show together, and in a heartbreaking episode, Jada told Will how she came to be romantically involved with August, and how he made her feel special because of what they were lacking in their relationship at the time. Will took the whole thing like a champ, but the clip went viral online because he looked like he was on the verge of tears the whole time that Jada was talking. Looking back on that moment now, it almost hurts to watch. Number 7. Strange beliefs. Jaden and Willow Smith have long been open about their bizarre opinions, but all of their insane comments have mostly been swept under the rug over the years. The siblings have also come out and labeled themselves as indigo children, who are believed to possess special, unusual, and supernatural traits that was popularized in the 70s. One of the most unforgettable interviews was done by T Magazine in 2014, who felt that their sibling dynamic would make them just the right people to talk about all those classic teenage topics such as quantum physics, prana energy, and the lucid, often elusive nature of temporal interpretation. Jaden said, quote, here's the deal, school is not authentic because it ends. It's not true, it's not real. Our learning will never end. And that kids who go to normal school are so teenagery and so angsty. He went on to say that you never learn anything in school. Think about how many car accidents happen every day. Quote, driver's ed? What's up with that? I still haven't been to driver's ed because everybody I know has been in an accident, and I can't see how driver's ed is really helping them out. I mean, we could break that down even more, but I don't really see the point. It's just funny because you know he was completely serious when he said it. Number 6. Hating on Aunt Viv. One of the most controversial opinions that Will has had is that of Janet Hubert, who played Aunt Viv on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. When she left the sitcom due to creative differences in 1993, Will slammed his former co-star during a radio interview. All I can say is straight up that Janet Hubert wanted the show to be the Aunt Viv of Bel-Air show. He also said that she told him, quote, I've been in the business for 10 years and this snotty-nosed punk comes along and gets a show. Those comments marked the start of what would eventually become a 30-year feud. Janet claimed that Will spread lies about her behavior on set because he knew the audience was mostly on her side. It wasn't until the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion special in 2020 that Will even acknowledged that he had made the set difficult for Janet during the 3rd season. It was a really sad moment because she admitted that the rumors Will started had cost her everything, including her career and her reputation, saying, quote, calling a black woman difficult in Hollywood is the kiss of death. Will only realized his mistake much too late and said that after having 3 kids, he's learned some things he did not know at the time, and he would do things differently with Janet had he gotten another chance. Number 5. Secret third child. Not everyone knows that Will actually has a third child from his first marriage to Cherie Zampino. Trey Smith, who is now 29 years old, mostly lived with his mother following his parents' divorce in 1995, and so that's why he's still relatively unknown. But Trey has actually struggled quite a bit compared to his half-siblings. In a 2018 Instagram post, Trey said that he felt betrayed and abandoned for a long time after his parents' divorce, and even Will admitted that he and his eldest child struggled for years to develop a good father-son relationship because he basically made a whole new family and moved on without Trey. The truth is, his father's total absence from his day-to-day life was quite hard on him growing up, and Will has also said that he regrets how neglected Trey felt. In fact, they have only recently been back on good terms, and the actor said that he and his firstborn son have slowly started growing and healing, overcoming their past trauma, even posting on Instagram in 2018, quote, "It is a wild blessing to recover and restore a loving relationship with my beautiful son." Number 4. How they met. The couple often paint their love story as one for the ages, but they definitely tried to gloss over the fact that their relationship began when Will was technically married to his first wife, Cherie. In fact, Jada let this information slip voluntarily in a 2018 interview with Access, admitting that when Will first reached out to her, he wasn't exactly fully free to do so. Quote, "He was just separated," and then went on to say that the divorce had not even happened yet. The couple has maintained that they weren't physically involved until the divorce was finalized, but many fans believe Will's heart had certainly strayed well before he made any move to end things with Cherie. During a sit-down interview on Red Table Talk, Will actually said that at a certain point in his first marriage, quote, "I had a realization that I wasn't with the person I was supposed to be with," but maintained that he didn't want to get divorced. He kind of admitted that instead of being honest with his wife right away, he just lost feelings for her and kept it private. But in the end, his ex-wife was the bigger person and ended up asking for the divorce, which allowed him to publicly date Jada right after the papers were signed. Number 3. Nepotism. The Smith family are undeniably a very tight-knit unit, collaborating on so many projects together throughout their careers. Some critics have accused the patriarch of nepotism, and they may have a point. It's pretty easy to see why. Just glancing through Jaden Smith's IMDb page, you can actually see that most of the movies he starred in were produced by one of his parents. The accusations were so intense that in Will's memoir, he opened up about casting The Pursuit of Happiness, saying that the studio actually didn't want to cast Jaden because it would seem like nepotism, and that would just ruin the credibility of the film from the get-go. But even though the studio was hesitant, the concerns didn't keep the Smiths from pushing for Jaden to get the part, and eventually they had their way. Don't get me wrong, the movie was great, but fans could not ignore the clear favoritism that was happening behind the scenes. Many people even called out his acting abilities in After Earth, which completely bombed at the box office, and Will even called it the most painful failure of his career. Number 2. Open marriages. Will and Jada have been shutting down rumors for literally decades, from claims that they're in an open relationship and speculation that they're swingers, to reports that Jada even cheated on Will with Mark Anthony. During an interview with GQ in 2021, Smith finally revealed that he and his wife haven't always been monogamous. Quote, "Jada never believed in conventional marriage," and went on to say that Jada had family members that had an unconventional relationship. So she grew up in a way that was very different to how he grew up. He hinted that both parties had taken advantage of the trust and freedom in their relationship in their own way. Will admitted that for a large part of their relationship, monogamy was what they chose, but it's clear that somewhere down the line they decided to stray from that traditional dynamic. In fact, Will was rumored to be hooking up with Margot Robbie on the set of their film Focus in 2013, after photos were leaked of the pair joking around and getting very close in front of the camera in a photo booth. But Margot was quick to deny everything on Twitter. Quote, "There's absolutely no truth to the ridiculous matter. It's disappointing that goofing around on set could be taken so out of context. Well, people really do jump to conclusions. And coming in at number 1, ties to Scientology. While the couple have never confirmed their religious affiliation, the Smith family has long been rumored to be members of the controversial Church of Scientology. Smith told Men's Vogue in May 2011, quote, "I've studied Buddhism and Hinduism and I've studied Scientology with Tom Cruise, and nobody's saying anything different." His comments obviously earned a great deal of backlash, especially when he claimed 98% of the principles are identical to the principles in the Bible. But then in October 2018, he declared that his family have never been Scientologists. To confuse matters even more, many of the Smiths' movies reportedly contain Scientology references and themes. In 2013, Vulture even called his sci-fi flick, After Earth, that he did with Jaden a love letter to Scientology. Not to mention the fact that in 2007, Will and Jada donated over $122,000 to the church. The truth is, we may never know whether the family are members of the religious movement or not, but the fact that the famous family hasn't condemned Scientology is already a major problem for some fans, especially as more and more disturbing allegations are continuing to come out about the church in recent years.
In at number 10, Janet Jackson. It's very rare that a celebrity in Hollywood is able to keep their relationship, or marriage for that matter, under the radar. However, Janet Jackson has been able to keep her multiple marriages and subsequent divorces all a secret from the tabloids. First, she was married to singer-songwriter Renee Elizondo in 1991, and that union remained under wraps until she filed for divorce in 2000. She then managed to keep her next marriage to billionaire Wissam Almana in 2012 a secret as well. This marriage actually really ended up changing Janet. She moved to London and abandoned her look to opt for a more conservative garb in line with Almana's Muslim religion. The couple wed 2 years after they met, and much to everyone's surprise, the then 50-year-old Janet announced that she was pregnant with son Issa, who was born in January of this year. To even greater surprise, Janet then announced her separation from Almana 4 months later. In at number 9, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is typically all about the laugh, so it's really hard to believe her when she's talking about her late brother, a convicted pedophile. The public first learned about her older brother Kenny in her best-selling autobiography My Life on the D-List, and in the book Kathy spoke about growing up with her brother and how she felt a very violent energy whenever he was around. She even admitted to witnessing him beating up his own wife. What's just as disturbing was when Kathy explained how he was sexually inappropriate with her from the time that she was just a little girl. Ultimately, this shaped the way that she perceived the world and herself as she grew up. Kenny Griffin ended up going to prison and eventually passed away. In at number 8, Rose McGowan. Ever since the beginning of the Time's Up and Me Too movement, actress Rose McGowan has been an outspoken force for change. As a result, she's been very open about her own personal secrets involving mental illness and sexual abuse. Growing up, her life was plagued with pain because her parents belonged to a cult called the Children of God. According to Rose, the members believed in free love, and so she was raised in a commune where mistreating women was just normalized. She even cited that men in the cult would regularly mistreat women and force them to act as servants. In at number 7, Holly Madison. Having frequently visited the Playboy Mansion when she was a 20-year-old college student in Los Angeles, the aspiring actress decided to move into the house a year later in 2001. The Oregon native, who was familiar with Playboy and had been a fan, soon became Hugh Hefner's lead girlfriend, and the two appeared to fall madly in love. Over the course of their 7 years together, their untraditional relationship was followed on the E! Channel series called The Girls Next Door. Holly acted as the loyal wife figure alongside co-stars and fellow girlfriends Kendra and Bridget. However, in a bizarre series of events, Holly left the mansion claiming that Hugh had refused to marry her. That being said, this is exactly how Hef wanted things to appear to the general public. In her memoir titled Down the Rabbit Hole, she spoke openly about the relationship and revealed some deep-rooted secrets that Hugh never wanted us to know. Apparently, he knew that she was unhappy and just ignored her. Upon reflecting on it, she said that even though she gave 7 years of her life, the man could barely have a conversation with her. In at number 6, Melissa Joan Hart. Melissa Joan Hart may be a happily married mother of 3, but during her time as Sabrina the Teenage Witch, she partied like every other Hollywood star. In the 1990s, she appeared to be this squeaky clean actor, but that was just an image put forth by executives. In her tell-all book called Melissa Explains It All, she speaks very openly about all of the secret stories that she had to keep under wraps while acting in Hollywood. In one portion of the book, she says that she experimented with weed, ecstasy, mushrooms, and mescaline for about a year and a half. Looks like her broomstick wasn't the only thing that was getting her high. Am I right? Up top. No? Okay. On top of that, she spilled crazy details about making out with a woman in a limo and then heading to a Maxim photo shoot while still high, then revealing that it was her 3rd or 4th time on ecstasy for this photo shoot. Although all this bad behavior, she says, is attributed to the bad crowd that she was hanging around with. I think she claimed also that Paris Hilton once offered her cocaine at a party, but obviously she denied. In at number 5, Daniel Radcliffe. Where does the time go? It feels like only yesterday that we were watching the adventures of Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Although because we were so engulfed in following following Daniel Radcliffe bring this character to life, we failed to notice when he grew up. Not only that, but his confession that he had a drinking problem was sadly something that no one wanted to hear about. Thankfully, he beat this in 2010, but the actor himself has revealed that he would show up to the set of Harry Potter still intoxicated from the night before. Daniel said that there were times during his teen years where he felt like he was being watched, and while admitting that most of that may have been in his own head, he still didn't know how to deal with it. During an interview with Off Camera, he said, "In my case, the quickest way to forget about the fact that you're being watched is to get very drunk." In an interview for The Guardian, he said that he turned to alcohol to cope with the pressure of fame and potential failure. And as I mentioned, he has been sober since 2010, but said that his friends played a big role in his recovery. Although he did reveal some pretty crazy stuff about being intoxicated while filming Harry Potter. Daniel said, "I can honestly say I never drank at work on Harry Potter. I went into work still drunk, but I never drank at work. I can point to many scenes where I'm just gone, dead behind the eyes." That really changes that movie series for me. In at number 4, Jackie Chan. There are very few actors in the world that have forsaken their health and safety like Jackie Chan just in order to do their own stunts. As a master of the martial arts, he has put his skills to the test both physically and comedically. Over the course of his illustrious career, he has injured himself countless times but somehow remains unfazed. It's most likely because Jackie grew up in a family of risk takers. His mother, Li Chan, was a drug dealer, and his father actually was a secret agent for the Nationalist Guard. His father ended up fleeing to Hong Kong after Mao took power in 1949, and his mother was forced to abandon her first 2 children due to extreme poverty. Jackie Chan's parents actually met in the most bizarre way possible, a reason for meeting that Jackie would keep quiet for many years. Li and Charles Chan met when he busted her for drug possession. He ended up taking pity on her and then just letting her go. I mean, what an origin story for this Hollywood superstar. In at number 3, Richard Pryor. More often than not, comedians have very tragic backstories, and that can certainly be said for the legendary comedian Richard Pryor. The actor and comic struggled with addiction throughout his life. He was married 7 times and even lit himself on fire once. However, his upbringing was even more of a personal struggle. Richard Pryor's mother, Gertrude, was a prostitute who worked out of his grandmother Marie's brothel. When Gertrude abandoned her son when he was only 10 years old, he was left in the hands of his abusive grandmother. Pryor's paternal side also didn't do him any favors. His father, Leroy, was a hustler and a boxer, yet despite his own demons and secrets, Pryor was able to turn his pain into comedy. In at number 2, 50 Cent. A lot of rappers talk about living a gangster lifestyle, but some of them actually do it. 50 Cent might seem egotistical and talk a big game, but the rapper has had a very tough childhood. The rapper, whose real name is Curtis Jackson, was born in Queens, New York, and his mother, Sabrina, was just 15 years old when she gave birth to him. Sabrina ended up turning to drug dealing to feed her son and became one of the most notorious drug dealers in the area. Unfortunately, she was killed in an unexplained fire when Jackson was only 8 years old. Still, he would go on to follow in her footsteps with drug dealing and was even shot 9 times in May of 2000. At the age of 19, an undercover police officer had arrested Jackson for selling 4 vials of cocaine, and then his home was raided 3 weeks later. He was then sentenced to 3 to 9 years, and he went to a boot camp instead to get his GED, but at this time he was already rapping and took on the name 50 Cent, which actually was an original moniker of a Brooklyn crook from the 1980s. Bunch of secrets in there for you that you can read on an autobiography page. Last but certainly not least, our number 1 spot, Keith Richards. Nobody who started their career in the music business in the 1960s, and I mean nobody, has remained untouched by the glorious days of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. This is especially valid for the musicians of the legendary rock bands, most of whom have admitted to having consumed all kinds of substances in their time. But none of those are as bizarre as the one that Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones is said to have sampled. In 2007, a magazine revealed that the 72-year-old guitarist once mixed his father's ashes with cocaine and then snorted him. The veteran of drug marathons was convinced that his father wouldn't have objected at all, and added that he went down pretty well. Many years later, Richards realized that being still alive after decades of drug and alcohol abuse was just pure luck. He also advised that others not follow in his footsteps and definitely abstain from snorting their parents.